Jesus said, "If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you." So what are we willing to suffer for Christ and for his gospel? St. Ignatius of Antioch was already an old man after serving 40 years as bishop when suffering found him. St. Ignatius was led in chains from southern Turkey to Rome for publicly refusing to worship pagan gods. He was sentenced to be fed to wild beasts in the great Colosseum, and his response was, "May I be ground by the teeth of the beast to become the pure bread of Christ, for I am the wheat of the Lord." St. Ignatius embraced his martyrdom because he believed his sacrifice would be joined with the ultimate sacrifice of Christ and ignite the spread of the gospel. In our second reading, St. Paul told Timothy, "Remember Jesus Christ, raised from the dead, a descendant of David. Such is my gospel, for which I am suffering, even to the point of chains, like a criminal. But the word of God is not chained." St. Paul penned this letter while under house arrest in Rome, and was encouraging Timothy and us not to be afraid to suffer for the gospel. But what exactly are we being asked to suffer for? A moral teaching? A social justice agenda? Or stories of a friendly rabbi? No. The gospel, according to Paul, is a claim that Jesus has been raised from the dead. In other words, God's love is more powerful than anything else in the world, even more powerful than death itself. When Paul mentioned that Jesus was a descendant of David, he was stating that Jesus is the new king, the ultimate authority in our lives. This was a powerful and revolutionary claim. St. Paul wrote to the Romans, "I am not ashamed of the gospel. It is the power of God for the salvation of everyone who believes." The word in Greek that Paul used for power was dunamis, meaning dynamite. The gospel is dynamite because it challenges the current power structures of the world. In Paul's time, the Romans ruled by might and fear. Caesar was king and lord. Thus, preaching a new king put Paul in chains. The gospel message that Christ has conquered death also weakened the Romans' fearful hold over the people, that crucifixion had the final say. St. Paul continued, "If we persevere, we shall also reign with him." We can only persevere if we are prepared to be martyrs, be it red martyrs and lose our life, or white martyrs and lose something besides our life. It is impossible to live Christ's message in the world and not suffer for it in some way. After all, we are playing with dynamite, and when it goes off, it might sever our reputation, friendships, family ties, or employment, but it will also fuse us closer to Christ. Is it difficult at times to do? Absolutely. But remember what Jesus said. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. In other words, don't be afraid of any earthly ramifications for being true to Christ and his gospel. Recall the man born blind that Jesus cured on the Sabbath. He suffered a white martyrdom when he proclaimed to the Pharisees, "He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and now I can see." This formerly blind man was now playing with dynamite. In response, the Pharisees abused, insulted, and finally excommunicated the man for giving testimony of Jesus' miraculous cure. St. John Chrysostom commented, "The Jews cast the man born blind out of the temple, but the Lord of the temple found him." If our witness for Christ should sever us from others, be assured it will only bring us closer to Christ. On the way to his martyrdom, St. Ignatius wrote to one of his Christian communities, "My chains, which I carry about on me for Jesus Christ, begging that I may happily make my way to God, exhort you. Persevere in your unity and in your community prayers." In like manner, it was up to us modern-day missionaries and martyrs to light the fuse of the gospel, for its message is dynamite for the world. Pope Francis reminded us, if we want to advance in the spiritual life, then we must constantly be missionaries.